Welcome to episode 5 of the Bluegrass Race Hub. I am Alex Healy, driver in the truck series of the number 97 Silverado, typically sponsored by Tushy Bidets. I know that's everybody's favorite thing, the old ass blaster. Tonight I'm not joined by Bryce. Apparently he has some severe internet issues, so I don't even know if he'll be racing this week. But even without him, we do have the HMFIC Jason Collins with us.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to, I believe, episode 5 of the podcast. I am Jason Collins, former driver of the number 3 Xfinity, former Xfinity Series champion, and the head MF in charge. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. Got me a top 5, looking good for the beginning of the playoffs here. We'll see how it goes, but I think it's time to jump into things. So we'll start with NASCAR. It was a very adventurous week, to say the least. Lots happened, lots to talk about. Obviously, the first thing, probably the biggest news this week, is we finally have confirmation. Kyle Busch to Richard Childress Racing next year in the number 8 car. Tyler Reddick will supposedly still be there in a third car yet to be named. Curious how that's going to go. Curious if he actually ends up there next season. I think there's still some hats to drop with. I assume Ty Gibbs is going to go to the 18, but there's still some moving pieces here. So I'm curious to see. But overall, that's the biggest thing is probably the most decorated current driver in the series leaves the only, well, not the only team, but the team he has had the majority of his success with over, I think, the past 15 years. It's that doesn't happen very often.
Not at all. It's a big change up for sure. Things are gonna. It's like a silly season, man, and anything can happen. We were kind of talking about this the other night about Busch potentially going to RCR and being in the 8. And I noticed an article the other day where apparently Junior guessed correctly. He and Kyle actually came to him. All right. And so Junior put out a tweet and said Busch to the 8 ball, right? So apparently Kyle
like
comes to him.
Emoji. Yeah.
Yep. Kyle comes to him and says, "Hey, you're going to have to tweet something else, man." And so Junior had to send out another tweet, some kind of craziness. But
Junior said, "But did I get it right?" So he didn't know. No. He guessed it.
Yeah, he guessed. It's crazy, man. But yeah, hats off to him guessing the right place. I mean, and the right car for that matter,
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like I never really had Childress as the favorite. It seemed like Colleague was the one that we were all leaning towards for a while. And even if he did go to RCR, which obviously he actually did, I would have guessed it would have been a different number. I don't think about it as Dale Jr.'s number anymore, just because it's so far gone. But I don't think of like the 8 as an RCR number as some special thing. But obviously it is. So that's how he ends up in it. Really wish Kyle would have ended up in the 3 car just to see some people's heads explode. But it's still crazy to wrap your head around. This is, I mean, in any other sport, like this would be. I guess it happened in football. Tom Brady left New England and went to Tampa Bay. Like that's really the only thing that is like on this level. I mean, the dude has over 200 wins in the top 3 level series, and I think 60 wins in Cup and 2 championships. I mean, nobody that's driving right now is in his league as far as career stats. So it'll. I'm curious how it'll go next year. I mean, obviously Reddick he's run well in that car. I don't think anyone would argue that Reddick has been the better driver for RCR this year. But interestingly enough, up until I was going to bust this out as a Nito stat force a couple weeks ago, I think at after Dylan won, was Talladega.
Yeah.
Or
was it Daytona, right?
Yeah.
Dylan won Daytona the last season finale.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those super speedways. I had a 50% chance there. But
Mhm.
at the conclusion of that race, his average finish on the season is the exact same as Tyler Reddick's, which is pretty bonkers because I love to give Austin Dillon shit.
Mm.
I think that Tyler Reddick's a much better driver,
Much better.
but by the numbers, statistically, at least consistency wise, same guy this year, and I think that yeah, and now they're both out of the playoffs. So
Yeah, it's wild. So, on other news with NASCAR, Kevin Harvick obviously gets bumped. They had a bad night. Bristol was a must
that
win for him.
yeah, that,
Unfortunately, they didn't get that to go their way. You had the best crew they could possibly have, and they let him down on that last pit stop. So,
yeah, I thought he was gonna do it. Leading up to that last pit stop, I thought if they nailed that pit stop, that he was gonna win his way in. And my God, that front left tire, I'm sure they're gonna have nightmares about that for a while.
yeah, it was definitely unfortunate. Can't believe that they just kind of let the ball drop on that. They've been so
Yeah,
phenomenal. Lancaster was talking earlier. He was kind of disappointed with the whole situation. He said that they took two guys from the 14 and put them over on the 4, and then they had created like this super pit stop team. And they'd been kicking butt all season, and then bam, they let it. The one that matters, man, the last
yeah.
pit stop of the race, drop the
Well, it's
ball.
I'm obviously not like a pit crew expert, but I think it'd be kind of risky. You know, those guys. It's a team deal, and you insert some new guys. Whether obviously they probably showed that they performed better on Briscoe's car. Those couple guys they brought over, but it's sometimes better to have a cohesive team than a bunch of all stars. You see that in a lot of other sports. Not necessarily what happened there because they had great stops
Well,
all night up until that.
they did the switch way back at like
Oh, okay, okay.
Dover. It was
I
like a
got you.
switch from way back in Dover, and up until this point, they had been
Been
kicking
great.
butt.
Yeah,
After the switch was made, I think he said Dover was where they made the switch, but ever since they did that pit team was specifically just dominating, and then they let the ball down, drop the ball,
yeah.
let everybody down on
And
that last stop.
it and it wasn't just them. I mean, that last stop, I there was like 4 or 5 teams that had tires coming off and either didn't even get off a pit lane and had the back end, and guys were having to pit again. It was just complete chaos, which we'll touch more on the. I guess we can just go ahead and talk about the Cup race because the racing was okay, but it was maybe the most chaotic Cup race I've ever seen. So we touched on all those pit crews having issues there at the end, and that was like the icing on the cake because the first stage, it was like every Ford was going to
Mm,
blow the right front off their car. I mean, I think it eventually happened to all of them except for Harvick at
mm.
some point in the race, or I shouldn't say all of them, but competitors, Logano.
Right.
I don't. Keselowski didn't have it happen amazingly, which he led a ton of laps, but Blaney had it happen. Harrison Burton had it happen 3 times. I
Whew.
mean, it was like Harrison Burton. He'd run 40 laps, cut front tire down, come pit, come back out. He'd be running about 15th or so. Cut tire, rinse and repeat. It was just like whatever is. I don't know what the cause was, if they were real aggressive with some alignment settings or something, but
Mm.
uh, never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then once it seems like we're kind of out of the woods on the Ford tires, then Toyota power steering pumps just start laying over left and right. I think Truex was first, and then I think Bubba was next.
Mm,
Um, it happened to Hamlin at some point.
mm.
Um, gosh, who might have been that? I know Ty Gibbs had an issue. I don't know if it was power steering, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. And then later on, Kyle Busch is in the top three.
Oh,
His
let's go ahead and touch on that real quick. Let's go ahead
yeah,
and speculate what's going on with that whole situation. So
he's getting the shit. He's getting the shit
they
car, man.
really just gave him a car. So he has another engine failure. Okay,
Yep, that's 2 and
Darlington,
3 weeks.
and
Yeah,
then Bristol. Okay,
yep, and then
and
he had some other issue.
and not only that though, but they sent guys back out to pass him with wrecked
Yep,
race cars so that he
yep,
couldn't go on.
yep. Which
Like
it only ended up being Bubba that passed him. Gibbs did not, and they asked somebody on Steve Laletta. He is like the president of operations at 2311. They asked him, about if there are any team orders that came down, and he said, "Look, we're racing for owners championship, and we're gonna take every spot we can get." So
that's crazy, dude.
yeah, I didn't, and especially it did not surprise me to see Ty Gibbs come off the track and not pass Kyle, but it was all for naught anyways. Uh,
That's
just
crazy.
just wild stuff. I I think Kyle Busch is going to have a real frustrating set of races ahead of him. I gotta imagine he's probably in for a lot of the same going forward.
That's yeah. I mean, I just can't believe they would do him like that, though, bro. Like, because
Yeah,
obviously Bush didn't or Gibbs didn't want him back, anyways. I mean,
yeah,
allegedly he's known about this since Daytona.
yeah, or at least had an idea it was coming.
Yeah,
He said,
something knew something along the lines.
"Yep," and I think we all kind of started getting that feeling once Ty was in uh, the 45, and he had a couple good runs, and then lately he's looked like he doesn't really belong in Cup. But I'm sure that stuff will come with time. But that 18 program, I think they're gonna be in for a big wake up next season when Ty Gibbs is wheeling that thing.
Big wake up, big. Because I mean, you're talking about like a once in a generation talent
Yeah,
of Kyle Busch. You know what I'm saying? Like that guy, he's
yeah,
no matter if you like him or not, he's talented. I
yeah.
mean,
Those guys don't grow on trees,
he's
and
had what, 2 championships?
yep, two
I mean,
championships,
it's not a
60
fluke.
wins.
It's not a
Yeah.
fluke, obviously. I mean, he did something, so it wasn't a fluke. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just feel bad for the dude. Whether you hate him, like him, or you're indifferent, I just think
Yeah,
they should have done better. You know, for a
yeah.
guy of that caliber, they should have done better.
He's I mean, he's been, I would say, that team's leader for years, and he is Toyota's development program, or was in the truck series. So now they gotta really figure that stuff out, because all that stuff Kyle Busch Racing is changing to Chevrolet next year, obviously. So that it just doesn't make a lot of sense to let him go that easy. And
No,
I,
it's
I,
silly because look at all they were like. Do you see the tweet he said the other day? He said, "I guess I am marketable or whatever."
yes. Yeah,
Like,
because he was the most marketable driver in
yeah,
NASCAR based on
well,
whatever survey or return or
exactly.
whatever it was he saw.
So the whole he's not marketable is that was obviously just Gibbs
Yeah,
blowing smoke up everyone's hind end because I
he,
mean the survey showed it. I mean clearly it came out, it
yeah.
proved it. You know,
I think that Joe Gibbs Racing is not good at finding sponsorship, and the reason they're not is because Denny has FedEx, no matter what. Martin
hmm
Truex has Bass Pro Shops, no matter what. Christopher Bell he doesn't really have a dedicated one like those guys do, but then Kyle's had Mars brand M&M Skittles for all these years. They haven't had to go sell sponsorship that often. So when the time came to do it, I think they just didn't have the people in place to know what they're even doing. To be honest with you,
yeah. I mean it makes sense. I mean obviously they don't. Somebody's dropped the ball somewhere in that area in that court on that Gibbs team because obviously you lose M and M's, right?
yep.
Well, I mean he's been with M and M's for
For what, probably
a
15
decade or
years at
more.
least.
Yeah, over a
Yep.
decade. It just doesn't make sense how they can let somebody like of that caliber and say he's not marketable. I mean, clearly the kid, not the guy, but his son. He's got a son who's everybody
Yep.
loves this kid, loves watching what he does, and
Yep.
that just adds on to me. That would make it more marketable. Like I don't know, I could
You would think, but Richard Childress already handed him a contract too, so I'm sure
exactly.
that was a part of the. I'm sure that swayed him a little bit as well, which who knows what other offers he was getting. It the way Kyle was talking, it sounded like the maybe the next best offer he was getting was from 2311, which is pretty insane too. But
Kind of
it
makes you
is what
wonder
it
why he
is.
didn't just go ahead and stick with Toyota. But I mean, I understand at this point he feels like they kind of double crossed him. There's no allegiance.
Yeah,
Um,
just with I would imagine Ty Gibbs in that 18 is going to have a little Kyle Busch shaped target on his back next season if he's even competitive.
so
But oh, go ahead.
what do we have next on the agenda for tonight?
We can talk about the Xfinity race real quick. Noah Gragson, blah blah blah.
That was a hell of if I was I would have put the bumper to him. I'm just gonna be honest. Like if that was me coming to he had the
Yeah,
opportunity a couple times. Brandon Jones had the chance to put the bumper to him and he didn't.
yeah,
I mean, hats off to that guy for not putting the bumper to him. But if that was me, man, I'm putting the bumper to him. I don't care.
yeah. I mean, that's how he got up front. He put the bumper to Ty Gibbs, which got I think Gibbs got into Mayer when that
Mm,
happened and screwed his whole race up. But then after that, he was I mean, he was out front the whole time, and I really did think it seemed like Brandon was going to get there and be able to put a move on him. And I mean, he raced him clean. I begrudgingly give you props for that. I mean, Noah's probably my favorite driver in Xfinity, but like
mm.
the bump that he put on Ty, it wasn't the cleanest thing. It wasn't necessary, especially at that point in the race. And I you got to think you're going to get it back, but he didn't. So he's out there holding his breath on the final 10 laps and vomits inside of his helmet for like the fourth time this season. Gets out of the car and looks like me, like on a Saturday night when I was in college or something, puke all down the front of his suit.
Oof.
Looked like he was about to die when he got out of the car. It didn't even look like he
Yeah.
could stand up. And then
Hate
he
to be
goes
the
over
guy that
to the
cleans that. Whew.
but then I gotta give him props. He goes over to the fence and shotguns a bush apple, which this is.
Oh,
I had this discussion with my wife. We were watching the race,
yeah.
and we had her birthday not too long ago, and my brother-in-law, her brother, obviously, he doesn't drink a ton, but he had some things to get out of his system. So he did some drinking and then he did some vomiting in the backyard. And that is like a night ender for him. And my wife said the same, like if she throws up, like that's it.
Yeah.
But for me, a professional, if I if it is a night where I am drinking
Yeah.
a lot and I throw up, that means I get to start over.
Start
I've
again.
made it's not that I was sick, it's that I was full and my
Yeah.
body had to get it
Get it
out
out.
so
I
I could
got you.
continue. That's that pro drinker stuff. So some of these rookies wouldn't know nothing about that. But props to Noah, man. I mean, that's three wins in a row for him. Something that kind of gets lost in it. Like he's on fire right now.
Yeah. He's killing it right now in the Xfinity series. Can't wait to see what he does in a cup car, you know.
Yep. So that I was thinking about this earlier. So he's got a cup ride. We gotta assume Ty is going to be in the 18 next season. Who's your pick for rookie of the year between those two guys?
Gregson.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think the same. I think Ty's going to be in better equipment or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think that Noah's going to be like a superstar in Cup, but I think he could be like surprisingly enough, I think he could have a career just like his teammate Eric Jones.
Yep.
I think he'll show some stuff and he'll get a win here and there. And those petty cars are not bad equipment
Mm-mm.
anymore.
No, not anymore.
Like,
I mean,
I
everything's kind of
mean,
leveled out now with the next gen
yeah,
car.
yep. And I mean, Eric Jones got him a win. Gosh, what was it? 3, 4 weeks ago. I can't even
Mm,
remember where it was now. Was it Darlington?
yeah, Darlington.
Yeah. And like when I went to the Indy Road Course race, they were running late models at IRP,
Mm.
and he won that race.
Oh,
He
that's
he wa-
awesome.
he was unstoppable. It was him and William Byron was running it too, and they're in a league of their own. He was. I mean, Eric Jones is. It shows how much equipment matters in NASCAR because I would wager the dude probably has just about as much talent as anybody out there. I'm not saying he's Kyle Larson or anything, but
Right,
he
right.
he can wheel with the best of them.
I
If
s
he was in a Hendrick car, he'd probably be making William Byron and Alex Bowman look pretty bad.
Probably, you're probably right. So Chris Buescher gets his first win in how many years?
Two
5 years, something like that? I don't even
Yeah,
know,
it
honestly.
was like 200 and some races. Let's see if the old first win in how many races. If it doesn't tell me immediately, I'm not going to delve farther into this. It didn't tell me immediately. It was something like or 19 hours ago. Let's see. No, it's some 200 and some races since his first win, and his first win was a rain shortened deal,
Mm,
kind of like Bubba's first win, where it doesn't really feel the same. Like
right.
obviously, Busher was more excited for this, just like Bubba was more pumped to get his first. We'll call it a legit win, even though they all count the same. But it's got to feel better to take the checkers and do a burnout, celebrate with the crew, all that good stuff. So
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
great drive by him. Surprisingly, those Roush Fenway Keselowski cars look pretty good because Brad was up front for like 120 some laps on old tires.
Wow.
He didn't pit in the entire first stage and stay. I mean, he ran like 120 or I don't know some ungodly amount of laps on his tires, and it was one of those things with the next gen car where tire wear doesn't seem to be a big deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to find how many races it's been since he won. I saw it
Well,
earlier, now I can't remember.
yeah, I want to say it was like 220 something, but I will touch on the how it said it was a kind of a meh race outside of all if it weren't for all the chaos,
Mhm,
and it seems like at short tracks, the next gen car. So this car has a 12-inch wide tire on it, which
mhm,
is the older cars I think was a 9 3/4 inch wide wheel, so a lot more rubber.
mhm,
And at short tracks, there's 670 horsepower.
mhm.
Um, my theory is that they just don't have enough power to wear the tires, and that's what makes for like Keselowski running 100 whatever laps out front on old tires where everybody
Old
else is going all
tires,
the
yeah.
time, and they're not able to get around him. So, in the words of Kevin Harvick from the beginning of the season, give him 1,000 horsepower.
Dude, that
That
would be wild. That would be so awesome if they did.
I mean, that's how it was like in the mid '90s. Not 1,000, but they're a lot of those cars are making 900 horsepower.
So he started his 250th start last night. So I don't know how many had been since he had actually won, but it was his 250th start.
Interesting.
Oh,
Well, kudos for him to grind in and out. I know they said during the race that uh, Brad felt that he had the talent, he deserved to be in a good car, and the same as Kyle Busch. I know there are a lot of people that hate Brad Keselowski. I know he's
yep.
had his rivalries and stuff, but it seems we've seen it with a lot of these guys that were hated when they were younger.
Mhm.
Everybody's number one answer is Kurt because he was the biggest dick on the face of the planet. A lot of people didn't like Brad. A lot of people didn't like Kyle. A lot of people still don't like Joey Logano. But it seems like as these dudes get older, it's easier to appreciate what they've done. And like someone like Brad that is running a team now, like the sport's just better with dudes like that around. So
Oh, 100%.
I used to not like the guy at all. I used to hate Logano, but I sometimes kind of root for him now, man. Which compared to a lot of guys that are listening, probably I'm probably an older fan than them, and like
Mhm.
these are the guys that I grew up watching, and
Right,
that,
same.
that I'm still have some kind of connection to them, even if I used to hate them. now I can appreciate what they're doing, and even when they get older, they settle down, they get more mature. I think we all experience that to a certain extent, so it's cool to see.
Agreed. It's like I remember when Harvick went into the 3 car when he
Yep.
was. I mean, he was the 29. He drove the
Yeah.
29. I didn't like Harvick
Hmm.
just for the simple fact that he
And
was taking
and
over
he was
and
pretty
looking. I
wild on the
mean,
radio.
and
I've heard him on the radio, like, saying, like, if they had a bad pit stop, he's like, "We gotta fire every one of these fucking guys, blah, blah, blah," and,
yep,
like, sounding like one of the Bush brothers or something. It's like, when these dudes are younger, like, we're all kinda like that.
damn.
Bingo. Alright, guys, that's enough NASCAR. We've heard enough about the professionals. Let's hear about how much we suck. So we're gonna start in the truck series where I live. We had a not a crazy race by any means. Well, I take there was one crazy thing. We won't necessarily touch on that in this segment. We'll save that for a an Are You Serious moment. And
Yeah,
if you're there, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. But we won't get into that just a second. Um, the most important thing, Keith Hackney is literally, if you were playing NBA Jam, the dude has flames coming out of his head. He
he's on
cannot
fire.
miss anything that he throws up. It's going in. I
Yep.
mean, I knew coming into it. I honestly, before I got into the session, I was feeling pretty good because I went and I just did some practice, but I didn't do a half tank. I just went into a practice session, and I was running times, and then I went and compared them, like, on the world record list, and I was like 170th in the world. I was like, oh
Hmm.
shit, we got something. So then I get in there, and then it took me 2 hours of practice to get within a tenth of what I was doing in open practice. So that didn't come to fruition. I personally had decent run in the top five, but looking at, I knew I didn't have anything for Keith, and I knew that no one else did either, despite
Right.
the illusions of grandeur of a certain guy that we'll talk about later. But I mean, no, I mean, he had the fastest lap, which not by a huge margin. Josh Clemens, who he actually
You and
Josh
Clemens
Clemens,
tied on lap times.
yep, and Clemens actually qualified on the pole. It doesn't show the time, but he ripped off some wild qualifying lap. It was like 2 or 3 tenths faster than he had been in practice. I was like, holy shit, this guy.
Yep.
But he was there at the end, the P2 for him, which obviously a good finish, and
Well
he's in the
deserved.
play. Yeah, and he's in the playoffs, so that's gonna more than likely probably move him on to the next round. I think all of us up here in the top, barring something crazy in the next round, we're all going to be okay. Um,
So
go ahead.
Clemens qualified with a 30.088 to Hackney's
Yeah.
30.096. And then you had
Okay.
Worthington with a 30.157. Gary was a 30.191. And then Bobby Hall was 30.202 for your top five. So
Yep.
almost a tenth ahead of Worthington.
Hmm.
Almost 2 tenths ahead of fifth place. I mean, that's fast, dude.
Yeah, it's getting to this point. I hate to say it, and it's gonna make me sound like I've rolled over and shown my belly, but like versus last season, um, Joey Doucette won the championship last season, but there wasn't a time when I showed up to a race at the beginning where I didn't have in my mind, like, if things go right and I stay clean,
Yep.
I got a chance.
Yep.
There are a lot of times I feel like I'm racing for second now, and it really, as a prideful guy, it really pains me to say it. But like everybody outside of Keith, I feel like we're all, right. Depending on the track, everyone's got their place, but I feel like we're
Yep.
all pretty close. But over the past few weeks, I mean, he is just absolutely putting it on us. And
Yeah. 6 wins on the season
yeah,
that's tough, man. It's tough to beat that.
yeah, it, I, I don't know what to do about it. I can't say it's only. I know the guy gets to practice a lot more than me because I
Right.
know we said it before. He's
He's
putting
not
up these
unbeatable.
sessions.
He's not
Yeah,
unbeatable. We know that.
yeah. I mean, we he hasn't won every race. It hasn't.
Right.
It's not like that. And there, even me, I'm not necessarily saying I'm the number two guy or anything, but there's been races where I've been faster. Coda comes to mind for me off the top, and I know Justin's fast at a lot of places. A lot of these guys are fast at a lot of places, but here recently, dude, he's just I I think it kind of sparked when we said something on the podcast because he used a couple sound clips in one of his video where um, he used something that you said. I can't remember. It's that you said that he wasn't unbeatable,
Mhm.
and I said something about where he can kind of drive over his head at times, but
Mhm.
I think he took that shit to heart, and I really wish I would have never said anything now. It appears on this podcast I've put my foot in my mouth more than anybody. I lost the the $50 bet to you. Um, there's a couple other things I got wrong, which
It's
I
all
like
good.
to I like to give hot takes on here. That
Yeah, I
I
mean
think,
that's part of it.
but man, that dude really took it to heart and is just shitting all over me now.
But I mean, okay, we know he's fast. We know he's good. We talk about him every week about how good he is, and I mean, but he's not perfect. You know, we all know that. We've seen him mess up. We've seen him make mistakes. So if you can put the right amount of pressure on him, maybe
Yeah.
something will happen. And but at the same time, you got to think maybe he's just
He,
ice
he's
water in the
he's
veins. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, he's definitely ready for whatever the next series is, whether he goes to Xfinity or Cup.
mhm,
And looking at the schedule, the things that I think that Keith really excels at,
mhm,
he's a monster on short tracks, and the way the playoffs are lined up, I know that you've chosen this because they're difficult tracks. You called it the gauntlet,
mhm.
but my God, do they line up with what he's good at?
I
I
mean,
mean,
obviously, is it's a byproduct of what happened with him signing up and everything.
yeah,
But that's their driver tracks that they're you have to be able to drive to do well at these tracks. Like,
yep.
so that's kind of the reason why they're there, why we picked or why I picked them and all that stuff. So, um, hats off to the guy. I mean, that's all you can say. Hats off to him, and he's
Yep,
doing a hell of a
and
job making it through
the
it. So
and the one week where
he's
based
still
on
got to
our
make it through the final race, though.
he does, and that can be that Ross Chastain situation, but it seems like that stuff's kind of fizzled out, which
For
is
now, yeah.
probably for the greater good, but you never know what might be on someone's mind. Which I do want to give him props because it wasn't but a couple weeks ago, based on how we ran at Coda.
Mhm.
I was like, man, I it looks like I'm kind of the road course guy in this series.
Mhm.
And we go to Watkins Glen and put it on us once again. He's
Yeah.
versatile, dude. He does it everywhere.
He's putting in his work, and that's, I mean, it shows. You can really tell he's putting in work and putting in an effort to
Yep.
do well. So I wanted to go over a couple things real quick. So I had to give a couple points penalties out.
In the
Obviously
truck series?
in the truck series.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So one of them I had to give to Robbie Richards for his comms violation. It was the second one. It's in the rule book. I want to go over it a little bit because he made a comment. He said sometimes it feels like you're just pulling crap out of your ass. Basically, is the way he worded it, right? And
Mhm.
I sent him a screenshot of the rule book, and I was like, dude, it's in the rules. Like, I've tried to be lenient. I've tried to give as much leeway as I possibly can, but still do my job correctly, right? For everybody, not just him, but for everybody. And it's coming down like we're in the playoffs. Things are getting more heated. Guys
Mhm.
are, tempers are flaring. Things are happening, whatever. You got to understand when I do this, it's not personal. I'm just following the rules. I'm trying to make sure that everyone else has a good experience. And, at the end of the day,
Whoa! I can't hear you. You've destroyed your mic. Now we got a problem.
All right. Sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. The mic fell off. Um, Back to what I was saying about the trucks, though, and dealing out these penalties and stuff. Like I said, it's not personal. Obviously, I'm just doing what I have to do to help keep everything straight and fair. So I always in the past have said, it's you guys, your decisions make me have to do these things, right? Like it's ultimately how you behave and how you act during these sessions to whether or not I have to dole out the penalty. I don't want to penalize anyone, but I have to. I have to be able to say, hey, you've crossed the line, and when they cross the line, I've got to be there to kind of like slap the hand, be like, no,
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yep.
But it's not personal in any way. And it's just, I want these guys to understand that when I do have to give them penalties and stuff, like I said, I hate to do it. I really do. I hate to have to do it, but it's got to be done just for the integrity and the sanctity of the league. You have to do it. So just try not to do these things that make me have to penalize anyone is the message. You know what I'm saying? Just remember that at the end of the day, I still have to uphold what's in the rules, and I'm not making stuff up, obviously. And it's unfortunate, I hate to have to penalize Robbie. He's a really good dude. I like Robbie a lot, but that doesn't matter on the racetrack. I have, there's a lot of guys that I like, but at the same time, I don't do favoritism. I have too much integrity for it.
Yep.
And
any favoritism, that is like the downfall, and it's hard to do because like we've all made friends in this league, and I think personally, I say this after every truck race when we're in there talking, that's what makes this league special to me, and that's why I want to see it succeed, is because the guys are just great. I like talking to Robbie, I like talking to Wes, Dan, Bobby. I mean, Justin. After the race, I'll sit there for 2 hours and just shoot the shit with you guys. That's what it's all about. But that can't affect what's the racing product and the application of penalties and rules and whatnot. So I get like the frustration because you're in the race or whatever where Robbie's coming from, but this is I think I said this on the last episode because I I don't think I've never gotten like a chat penalty or anything, but the the recommendation I can give everybody is, unless you're calling out your pit stop, you might as well not have your push to talk button. There, de- deal with the stuff after the race, because anything you say during the race, the only thing it can do is make your situation worse. Whether it's you receiving a penalty or you firing up another dude to retaliate, it's not gonna help you at all.
It
And I
doesn't
know
help
it's hard.
whatsoever.
Yeah, and I know it's hard because we all want to win. That's why we're here. But
ultimately, the thing that what really got Robbie is the fact that I'm in a channel with two other drivers talking to them about something. He comes into that channel and it just immediately starts just going, over the top. Those guys had to deafen themselves because they don't want to hear that. And so, and that's part of it. You're not, like it says blatantly in the rules, do not argue with race control. If you have something you want to protest or whatever, you can do it after the race. But we don't do it on the radio or even in somebody else's Discord channel. That's, so ultimately that's what ended up getting him the penalty, is the violation coming over the radio and then coming into the Discord and making it, it just compounded is basically what he did. He compounded it on himself. Because at that point, I finally, eventually, I quit talking because like it wasn't doing any good. We weren't making any progress. His argument was that it was a racing incident that happened between him and the 17 and so and so. So going back at that and then looking at that, here's the problem: is it's every week I've got Robbie spinning somebody off his nose, right? So when you look at, he doesn't really have I can't give him the benefit of the doubt that it was a racing incident because
he's got 100 and something incidents.
Exactly. His incident count is really high. So even going back and looking at it, Adam came to me. He's like, I think that probably should have been a racing incident. And I told Adam, I was like, yeah, you're probably right. It may have been one, or that may have been how I should have called it, whatever something like that, along those lines. But at the end of the day, I went back and looked at it again, and it wasn't, man. Like, he put his nose in that. He put his truck in that situation. He could have laid back just like a little bit longer. And I get everybody's racing. They're trying to get to where they want to go. Boom, boom, boom. But sometimes you got to give a little bit of room. And that was one of those situations where I felt like he could have gave a little bit more room. So at the end of the day, yeah, I did put the caution on him. Because if not for his nose being where it was, those guys probably could have rolled on out and been fine.
Yeah. And ultimately, I don't know if I've been in this position specifically, but even if you as a racer you feel that the call that Jason has made is wrong, that's the call. And just like every other sport, from NASCAR to stick and ball stuff, there are calls that people don't agree with. They're that kind of like in the Cup race. We'll talk about that later. The deal with Dave, he didn't agree with it, but I mean, that's what it is, and arguing about it doesn't change it.
It's not going to change. It's just going to make the situation worse ultimately. Yeah. And that's basically all I'm trying to get across is just, when we're in the race and we're looking at things, and you got to look at it so quickly. You're trying to make the call. That's the thing. If I mess up and I say it's a race incident when it wasn't a racing incident, and somebody gets mad, and if it is a racing, if I put it on a driver when it really is a racing incident, somebody's mad. So at the end of the day, we had a caution, and it happened because somebody put their nose somewhere it shouldn't have been, et cetera, et cetera. So
it is what it is.
It's over now. It's over and done with.
In Major League Baseball, in every game, a ball gets called a strike gets called a ball. It happens. You're asking people to make decisions. We, like, in your position, and which I have been in that position doing race control for Cup races occasionally, like, you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. And especially if you're like me, like, I'm not real fast at like finding the stuff on the replay and everything. So you can't expect people to be 100% correct on the calls they're making every time. I know that's what we want, but
it's mainly consistency. I'm trying to be consistent. So in that situation, what I saw, what I initially took in, I looked at it. That's how I felt about it. I go back and somebody comes to me and says, it's probably should have been a racing incident. And I'm like, well, yeah, you might be right. But then I go back and look at it again. Then I confirm, no, I was right the first time. I believe it could have been avoided. And that's what it is. Avoidable contact is what it is. If it could have been avoided, then yeah, I'm going to put it on the driver that caused it. So, but let's go ahead and move towards the next one.
Xfinity. I'm going to, as usual, you're going to have to carry this segment for me, because Tuesday nights are the night that I spend with the family, so they don't think that I am totally neglecting them.
Gotcha, right.
So, which I can at least pull the results up here, though. So it looked like Lancaster did what Kevin Harvick could not do, and
got it done.
Got it done.
Yep. And it was an epic race for that matter. Okay.
Which, Brandon, is it Lancaster or Lancaster?
Lancaster. Yep. Lancaster.
I'm sorry, Adam. I don't mean to mispronounce your name.
So if you look at the results, Brandon Robertson led that race. He owned that freaking race for 75 laps.
75 laps.
We're like, okay, it's unreal because, Radburn took off and got around, James. He got around James on the first lap. Radburn led. Okay. Then Brandon beats Radburn out of the pits at the stage somehow. No idea how. Dude just beat him out of the pits. It was freaking awesome, man. I don't know how he did it, how he managed to make up that much time in the pits. But he did. He somehow beat him out. Yeah. So, and Radburn even had a faster pit stop. Now that I'm recalling, looking at it, the stats on my little overlay, Radburn had a faster pit stop. So I still don't understand where Brandon made up the time to get out
Does
in the
that include did that include pit road time?
no, it didn't. It just the pit stop. So he probably
Yeah,
made it
so
up on
maybe
pit road somehow.
yeah,
I think Radburn
maybe
spun the tires trying to exit his stall.
what
And
did he go past the stall, maybe?
no.
No?
It was
Okay.
perfect. Like he came in. They both came. Like Brandon was
Oh,
probably 6 feet off his bumper or something coming down pit road.
yeah.
But whenever they took off, I think Radburn spun the tires, whereas
Mhm.
Brandon was already rolling and
Yep.
and so it was so close, man. I mean, it was just like
Yeah.
so close to being Radburn out in the lead. So when Brandon got out,
Show me how close it was again.
yeah, yeah, it was real close. Like, so Brandon beats him out. Brandon leads. Brandon's on a tear. And then Lancaster comes out of nowhere, chases his ass down, and passes him with like 6 laps to go or 7 laps to go, something like that. I think it's 6 laps to go. Passes the dude, and then that was all she wrote. Lancaster took the W.
Yep.
Hell of a race.
So looking at it, which just as an outsider that didn't watch the race, Lancaster's fastest lap was damn near 3/10 slower than Brandon,
Yep.
and 2/10, or I guess a tenth slower than Nate Maurer.
Yep.
I mean, no,
He beat him on the long run. He wasn't messing with him early. He let him run off. He let him go, and then it was the mid to long run where he really shined. I mean, look at his average lap time, 34.473. I mean, the only person that had a better lap time was Mo Abbott, who finished a lap down. And I don't know how that works out, but he did. He had a 34.380 for Mo.
Yeah.
But he was a lap down at the end of the race. But yeah, man, it was just unbelievable race. Watching it come down to the wire. You know, we saw Lancaster get into Robertson a couple times, and they, moved him up the track. He didn't wreck him, just moved him up the track. And Rubbin's racing. I mean,
short track racing, as
exactly
says.
That short track racing, and they're a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of racing, and so that's another thing I kind of want to touch base on is like race control is here for like super egregious things and stuff like that. We can't penalize somebody on the basis, well, what if or what should, what could have happened. So that's one of the things, something else I was wanting to talk about. And this is kind of a good segue into that. So Brandon was prepared to be moved by Lancaster. He got moved. He fought back. It took Lancaster several laps. I mean, like I said, they were just barely touching each other, just a little bit of moving, whatever. Using 8 wheels instead of 4 sometimes. And that's just part of racing. You have to expect that. And race control is not going to be there. I want the drivers to police themselves. So if you feel like that guy drove you dirty in this race,
drive him dirty.
By all means, you drive him dirty the next race. If you wreck him or take him out, and it brings out a caution, then yes, you're going to get penalized. But if it's just hard racing, nobody brings out a caution, stuff like that, we're going to keep it. I want to let the drivers police themselves. I'm only there for those really egregious moments. And like, the incident we had in the truck series the other night when somebody got intentionally wrecked. I'm there for stuff like that.
That's what we gotta do.
And for cautions. So,
So we're talking about all that. So I think we can get into the Cup Series. So we had I hate to discount him because obviously he's a fast guy, but coming into it, I didn't expect Frankie.
Frankie was kind of off the radar, so to speak.
He kind of for a real life parallel, going into the real life Cup playoffs. Alex Bowman is a guy that out of my mind, and dude's put together good runs. He's locked into the next round. I think Frankie kind of the equivalent. He's just kind of been there and not having great finishes, but doing enough. And then he shows up and leads 82 laps.
It seems like he was probably the dominant car. I missed the race, but I have watched the replay. But it looked to me like he was the dominant car for most of that race. 82 laps led.
Early on, I will say, I thought Doug would he was just checking out, putting big deltas on the field, and I was like, as long as he could stay out front, I didn't think anyone was going to be able to touch him. I don't remember what brought on the lead change. Just
Mm.
but by looking at the amount of laps led, it looks like probably around sometime around the stages.
Yeah, looks like sometime around the
There's probably
stage, Frankie got ahead
some
of
good
him, and
strategy at play. Yeah.
Mikey comes in with another strong finish. That's his
Yep.
second top 3 finish in 2 weeks in a row, right? Didn't he?
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
believe so. And heck, he started way back in 12th, which I say that Cogswell finished 4th. He started way back in 11th. So they those guys worked their tails off. I mean,
Second top 3 in 3 weeks. That's my bad. He
okay,
won at the Glen and
that's right.
finished. Then he
Yep,
finished. Where did he finish at here? He finished 26th at Daytona, and then finished P2 last Wednesday at New Hampshire. So Mikey is putting together a good run. Doug is always. I had a feeling Doug was going to be really good after running the truck practice race with him the other day. He had an unusual line. He was running the bottom, and
yep,
I heard his interview. Little cocky in the interview, little cocky. I will say that. But I mean, it's good. It's good. It adds to everything because everybody now hears that interview and they hear how
yep,
cocky he was in that. So now they're going to want to beat him even more.
yep.
Obviously, and I think it's just going to spice things up and make things better. And hats off to all those Lucky Ducks guys because they're amazing. I love the team. I love their owner, John Pill. Those guys. I'm glad we have them, and I hope we continue to have them. And they love the league and they want to stay around for much, much longer. So, like I
Yep, I
said,
know.
hats off to all those guys.
Yep, I know when I'm sitting there, I'm spotting for Dave and Matt. We got a 2-car team, and I look at another channel, and there's 5 guys in there. It's like there is strength in numbers,
Yeah.
especially in this series where on a given night like this night, we got 17 cars. They got damn near a third of the field on a single team. Like
Yeah.
that that is an advantage.
Yeah.
100%, and good on them for lining it up and being able to work like that. Not saying necessarily that teamwork was a big factor in this one, but
Right.
it like when you go to a super speedway and you're in
Makes a
my
difference
spot,
there.
yeah, you're in my spot trying to spot a 2-car team, and we're trying to fight a 4 or 5-car team, whatever.
Hmm.
That it's
Well,
hard to do, no
okay. Well,
matter how good you are.
let's rewind for a second since we didn't do a podcast after the Daytona race
Yep,
or before it or whatever it was. So we have
yep,
Daytona. Gabe won Daytona. Doug was second.
yep,
Cedric was third. Brandon Zimmerman was fourth, and Cogswell was fifth. They dominated all 5
yep.
cars, top 5.
Big time.
Like I said, that's just hats off to John Peel for putting together an amazing team. Those guys are awesome. I love having them in the league. We're going to do our everything. Like John has bought into the system that we have. He knows that there's value in the league and going forward in the future with owning charters and such. And he knows what we're trying to build over here and what we're trying to do. And so we're going to continue to reward guys like that want to invest and bring teams into our league. We're going to make it so that they can own charters, ever how many they want, stuff like that. And
Yep.
eventually one day, hopefully we'll be able to say, hey, this is actually worth something. You're bringing revenue in with your sponsorships or whatever,
Yep.
we want to build this platform for them to put their name out there and get their name out as much as possible. So
Yep,
hats off to
that's
all
what
those guys.
sponsorship's all about. That's what
Yep.
it's all about. When you got someone that comes in on the ground level when we're not, we got, a few hundred people watching, or 40 people that watch this podcast every week. Hopefully someday those numbers got a couple more zeros on the end of them.
And that's all we can hope for. I mean, that's what we're
Yep.
trying to build here. And then, like I said, I appreciate those guys for buying into it. And it's awesome. I love it. Love it.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And even if, we're not like bringing in these big counts someday, just I've said this a few times to you, but like just doing it for the love of the game, doing it for racing. And
Yep.
that's like, I look at like in any sponsor that sponsors anything at any level of racing, I can't imagine the return on investment is very good, whether it's Monster Energy or FedEx. And like, how many people are like making decisions based on that. I can't imagine it's a bunch. I do personally, like
Mm,
if I have two options at the grocery store or something, I'm like, well, you know, this brand Smithfield, they're on Eric Almirola's car. I don't
mm.
really care about him necessarily, but like they support a thing that I really enjoy. So Smithfield bacon, let's go. That
And I
kind of
mean,
thing.
and eventually, one day, like I said, that's where we're trying to build this whole thing up to. We want it to, we want to get it to a level where it's actually, uh, people can bring sponsors in, and it's going to actually benefit that person and those sponsors both, and all that. We want all that
Yeah.
to work together.
And
So,
that, so, which I'll speak on this personally for me. I know a lot of people know that I work at Holly. Dave also works at Holly with me. He's been there for the past 6 months. Um, I want to get them on board. I need to like, so we sell only real life race car parts. It's going to be changing soon. I've got some things
mm,
working for sim guys, but if you are a guy in the league, someone like me that does this shit in real life too, I need to know so I can sell this to people that make decisions above my pay grade level. Because like obviously, if you're into cars, you've probably heard of the company that I work for, and that they got money to throw around in the marketing budget. So, which happens to be at a department I work in. So the guys that are doing this stuff in real life, I need to know so I can give some data so I
mm.
can convince someone to give us money.
Well, you hear it right there, guys. He needs your information. Send it on over to Alex Healy so that he can try to get the ball rolling, and maybe that'll
It's
help out
not
the league.
it's not for lack of effort. This is basically what I like. They need to know like if we sponsor this, are these guys buying real life parts? Is there a return on this investment? And that's how marketing works for everybody.
Right, right. And whenever if they ever do get into the sim market world, then boom, Bob's your
Well,
uncle. So
here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this because I know that not a lot of people listen to this podcast, so I can say shit like this. Um, we have something in the pipeline. I know this, not depending on your wheelbase and stuff. Basically, we are working with MPI Max
mm,
Pappas. We're going to be selling their steering wheels. So if you if you want a fucking sick wheel to put on your rig, like if you have a nice rig you can use or a nice base, like I use a Joe's racing products. Like this is for a circle track car.
mm.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Like I'll be able to maybe do those as prizes and maybe provide discounts and stuff for the league going forward. So that's what I just helping people enjoy this hobby more.
Good. That's awesome, and we appreciate that, Alex. We really do. Um,
Eh,
I
it's
mean,
nothing.
but it is. It's huge, and it's a step in the right direction for the league. And if you guys are hearing this, then take advantage and let him know. Hey, I race in real life too. So we can
Yep,
get
there's
get
like
you guys linked up.
yep, like I know I was gonna Bobby Hall. I know he races. I think like a street stock or a similar type car. I know they call them different things in different places. He needed a
Mm.
carburetor. I was gonna help him out with one. He ended up getting one sponsored. But like, if you guys are running stuff like that, like I'd love to help you.
All right.
Are you serious, bro? Are you serious, Jason? What you got?
I've got iRacing update last week. Ended up killing a bunch of our drivers in the Pro Late Model Series. Weren't even able to get in. Come on, iRacing, you've got to do better. The update just broke several people's computers. And not only that, but talking about the Pro Late models just a little bit. We only had 12 drivers. Are you serious? What is that
Come on,
about?
guys.
Like, I know part of it was because of the iRacing update messing with people's computers. It knocked like 4 guys or something out, or 6 guys out. So we technically should have had 18 drivers. But it's an opportunity for these guys, these dirt drivers, to come out and put on a show. We're trying to rework it a little bit, but at the moment, I'm just like, why are we even doing the dirt pro late models? 12 cars. Are you serious, guys? Like, come on. So
Yep.
I would like to see
Can't
more
run a
people
series
sign
on
up.
that.
No, you can't run a series on that. And I would like to see more people sign up for that. So.
Yeah. I personally I like driving those cars and I have fun, but like I have no business racing with those guys. Like that's I don't know if other guys do this, but obviously like anytime I'm on an oval, I got to take it seriously, whether it's in the league or outside, because I'm worried about safety and I rating and stuff. But if I go road racing, if I'm running Pro 2 trucks or I'm running 358 modifieds on dirt or whatever,
Mm.
like my stress level, I have none, because if something bad happens, this is just for fun. This is just to like blow off some steam, take advantage of the iRacing service and everything that it has to offer, all these different kind of things that I can drive. But yeah, like the guys that are good at it, they're like, to me, otherworldly. Like I know Scott is our like resident dirt guy.
Yep.
And I wish I could contribute to the car count, but my God, if you're listening to this, if you're in the Discord or something, like you see how much fun we have on the asphalt side, the connections we make, like
It can
it
be there on the dirt as
it,
well.
it can be the same. And I know the dirt stuff is huge on iRacing. It can be there. We got to get there. We got to get the
So
guys.
another thing is, I'm going to say, are you serious about it? Is these guys in the dirt community they're complaining, for lack of a better word, that we're trying to do weekly payouts. They don't want to pay a weekly fee to have weekly payouts. It's $10 a week. Okay, is what we were. That was our plan. We already have this done on the asphalt. It works fine on the asphalt. And these guys come in, they're complaining about paying $10. They don't want to pay a $10 weekly fee to race for a prize every single week. Not so. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to revamp this dirt series. We're going to do away with the weekly prizes. Me and Scott talked about it today. We're getting rid of the weekly pay in and all that. So you're going to pay $35 one time, because everybody that's already signed up and ran last week has paid $35. So anybody that wants to run from here on out has to pay the remaining 10 that they didn't pay to run last week, and they already paid their 25. Fair. So all they have to do is pay 10 more. And then anybody else that wants to sign up, we're going to let them sign up this week, $35. And we're going to run 8 more races or something like that. And because we're paying $500 to win a national title between us and Wotail. Yeah, so it's like, are you kidding? You don't want to take a shot to win $500 between us and Wotail. Plus, if we would have left it where it was and the way I had it structured, we would have been paying $500 to win in Bluegrass also. But because of that, now we're going to have to lower payouts. We're going to have to lower the end of the year payouts because, for one thing, broadcasting is not free. They've said, I'm going to go ahead and say that James Braswell Jr., he's been one of the guys who's been very vocal about not wanting to pay weekly. I get that. That's fine, man. But at the end of the day, it's, for one, it helps keep out the riffraff. 2, it's there because it's like a gate. It keeps out these guys that don't know, that they come in and want to cause problems. We have cleaner, better racing because of it in the asphalt community. Okay. I understand there's some guys. I understand there's some guys who can't do it in the dirt community. They're younger, they're really good, but they can't afford it. Mostly what we're for is we're gearing towards an older demographic. We're not looking for the 11, 12-year-old kids. We want those older guys that, that's our demographic. Okay. So it leads me to believe that they're afraid that they're not going to be able to come in and place in the top 3 or top 5, whatever we're paying out at the end of the day. And, I get it. You got some of these guys that are really fast. They come in here, you're basically just paying them every single week. So we're flipping the script on this whole pro late model. And, it is what it is. I didn't want to do it this way, but we're going to get rid of the weekly payouts and weekly pay-ins and see what happens. And if it doesn't change, then I'm probably not doing any more dirt. I'm probably going to do super late model, asphalt super late models on Thursdays from now on.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and not be too harsh on these guys, but there are a couple things. And the first, I know that we've discussed this, probably not on the podcast a bunch, but look, man, if if $10 a week is too much to show up for a quality race, when at minimum you probably got $1,000 PC minimum to run this. You got a nice monitor. You got at least a couple $100 wrapped up in your Logitech wheel or whatever. Like, if $10 is killing you, like, I don't want to sound like I'm the richest guy in the world, because I'm not, but like, if $10 is killing you, like, this is probably not the hobby for you.
Probably not.
Right, just racing in general. Like, this is a hobby, and it's expensive, and it can be because the people that do it are passionate about it, and that passion lets them pay a lot of money. But in this case, it's $10 a week, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we're not asking an exorbitant amount of money or anything.
yeah, that, I don't know. That's kind of mind blowing for me. But then on the flip side, like you said, like, paying an entry fee, that's what keeps the goobers out of the fucking league. Like, if you're not charging people every race, you're going to have a guy that just pays $25 and then he shows up, and then in the first lap he's going to send you to the moon because it doesn't mean anything to
It
him.
does. There's
It,
no,
it
yes,
might
that.
it might as well be it might as well be a an official race. Like,
There's no skin in the game.
no. That's like anything. What, like my little side wager with Scott or whatever that didn't come to fruition. Like, if it doesn't mean anything, then you can just say whatever. There's no repercussions for being wrong. There's, like, no one wants to play like in a fantasy football league for free. Who cares? Once you start losing, then you just don't do it anymore. Like, I don't know. That it might be a younger person mindset, but like, if you have no reason to care,
then you're not
like,
going to. It's just that simple.
Like, so, like, in the truck series, I can just speak from what I'm racing in. If all I had to do is pay you $25 at the beginning of the season, and then I make it like 7 races in, and I'm sitting 23rd, why race anymore?
Exactly.
But if we're paying $10 every week, if I win a race, that's probably going to pay for basically the rest of the season. That's what happened to me last season.
Yeah.
I've only just recently had to start paying for races again because I just carried my winnings over.
Yep.
But like, if you're not doing that, like, the shit don't matter, and you can just do whatever you want, and then it turns into a turd fest.
And that's what we're trying to create. Like, we took what we had on the oval side, and it worked. And it worked last season in the pro late models. I feel they see. Basically, they're trying to say that the entry fee is why we didn't get people to sign up this season. I don't think that that's the case. I think that the reason that we didn't get as many people signed up this season is because, for one, it's a bad time of year. People are still doing fall sports are just now kicking off again. It's still decent weather outside, so people are still going and doing stuff. There's still real racing happening, which is about to come to an end. I think it's the time of the year, for one thing, and then the other part of it is I think that we didn't promote it enough. Or hard enough and what I mean by that is we usually go out and host a bunch of races 3, 4, 5 weeks in advance, right? We'll do exhibition races in advance, and that gets the word out there. Okay, we're running again. We're signing up. So I think that and the time of year is probably the real reason why we had a low car count, which we had 18 paid, but 6 of them couldn't even get into the race because of the damn update. Yeah. So we only ended up having 12, which is still, 18 is not a lot better than 12, but it is better than 12. It's a third. It's a third of the field. Third of the guys signed up at least. So hopefully, with what we're doing going forward, it'll make it work. And they're just going to have to understand that with the one-time fee, payouts at the end of the season are going to be lower now. Unless we can sign up like 60 people all out of nowhere. Like, we've only have 18 paid right now. So to get 40, we need 22 more drivers to sign up before next week. I don't see that happening. So they're going to have to expect lower payouts. I can't promise high payouts because I can't pay it out of my own pocket. I can't afford to pay it out of my own pocket, and I'm not going to.
I mean, that's how racing works in real life. Like, you Show up. Like I like to go to Cedar Ridge. It's like 20 minutes from me, dirt track. Podunk, piece of shit track, and I love it because it is everything that you expect dirt racing to be. But if they have 3 cars show up for a class, then if you win, you probably won, I don't know, $50 or something. But if they got a full field, then they're paying $1,000 or whatever.
Well,
that's just how it works.
It's
money
like
in, money out.
They want us to put up these big, huge purses and big prizes, but they don't want to pay anything for it. So it's like I don't know. Like, what do you guys want me to do, dirt community? Because at the end of the day, it's not working. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. I hate letting these guys down that we've already said that we're going to pay, this much money to at the end of the season. But to clear that money, to make sure that we have that money, we've got to sign up more people.
Yep.
Something's got to give, because broadcasting isn't free. It's $50 a broadcast. You figure 10 races, that's $500 right there off the top.
Yep. So I have an idea, and maybe this isn't necessarily correct, but in my experience, the guys that race dirt on iRacing also race dirt in real life.
Most of them seems like.
So if that is if I am correct in that, we get a lot of guys that run real cars. I might be able to help. And if you've listened to the podcast prior to this, maybe I can add a prize to the pot that is not money, that comes from a big H company, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Come on, guys. So if that is something that interests people, that is something we can entice people with, let's do it.
And I think that it's a possibility. I do. I think that could potentially do it.
Just in my experience, like I know Hackney is a dirt guy. I think he's raced the dirt car in real life. I know Bobby Hall is. Like,
I mean, they're there. We've got several of them. I mean, and they know people they even know people though that maybe they don't drive, maybe they pit crew. Like Scott pit crews on a sprint car, I reckon here they've been doing or something. I don't know, whatever it is.
So I don't know if like a Holly, XP 500 2-barrel that is class legal in basically every dirt class on the face of the earth. If that was up for grabs, would that entice people?
No,
you guys tell me.
All right, so
red flag, green flag. This is dedicated to the greatest show in television history, the Red Green Show. If your lady doesn't find you handsome, she should at least find you handy. All right, we got a lot here. There's some stuff I meant to put in the Are You Serious segment, but we got carried away there. We got on a tangent on you fucking dirt.
That's on me.
You dirt track assholes. But let's start with the biggest one, the one we've been avoiding this entire time. We're both going to red flag the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Gary Jazorski, Dan Worthington. Let's talk about it.
All right. So let's describe it for the people as to what's going on. So Gary makes a pit stop. Caution comes out. Gary's trapped a lap down. David Brackett stays out. So Gary doesn't get the wave around to get his lap back. Gary gets on the microphone. He's mad because of that. He's like, I'm not getting my lap back. Are you fucking serious? And in the meantime, Dan Worthington is trying to pull over. He's on the bottom lane. He's down next to the wall.
Yep. Gotta let everybody by.
Gotta let everybody by.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
He stops to let everybody by. Gary, not paying a lick of attention because he's mad about not getting his lap back, plows into the back of Dan. What the he's going off cussing Dan. What are you doing? Da, da, da. And in the meantime, I'm trying to deal with something else. And then in the meantime, I see what's going on. Gary's driving, and I'm trying to get my mouse over to the remove. Like I'm trying to get there. Gary just full throttles it back into Dan Worthington, destroys him, intentional wreck. Dan's gone. I eject Gary because Dan's not gone. Dan's truck is dead. Gary's gone. I eject Gary. That's a no-no. That's a big hell no. You don't ever retaliate against anybody ever in this league. That's the fastest way to get removed and so with it being his first offense, I didn't eject Gary from the league. I gave him the penalty that is supposed to happen for the first offense. He's on a 4-week probation period. He can't qualify. If he races any more this season, I don't know if he will or will not, but he can't qualify for 4 weeks. And he had a 20-point reduction. So,
yep.
You don't do that.
Yep. So I agree wholeheartedly. I can give another perspective because I was on the track when it happened, and it happened right in front of me and was a code brown moment. So I was on the straightaway, and because I had my eyes open, I saw Dan on the bottom, and I saw Gary go by me, and Dave is in my ear, and we're like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is going on?" And we just like he plows him, and we're like, "Oh God!" And I knowing the two guys that are involved, and I'm gonna preface it with this: every like practice before the race, I talked to Gary. He seems like a good dude. We crack some jokes on one another because we're all always wrecking in practice because we're trying to eke out every little thousandth, and we're out there just blasting it off the wall left and right. And on the other side, Dan is one of my best friends in the league now. Like, he's sending me messages every day. We're shooting shit, whatever, which, as I've said before, is what this league is all about for me. So I see the initial thing happen, and I know that neither of these guys are just like lay down and take it kind of dude.
Neither of them.
But Dan didn't do it. He was just on the racetrack. So after the initial hit, and I know that both of them are mad, for whatever reason. But then, so like I'm in the middle of the straightaway, and Gary is just to the inside of me, and I hear that fucking thing throttle up to 8,000 RPM, and I couldn't hit the button and speak fast enough because I saw this missile across the apron, and I was like, "Oh God, it's gonna be World War III," and by God, was it? And I would like to play the middle on this just for the sake of the podcast and the entertainment and all that. But when you're on the racetrack, whether it is under yellow or green, black, red, I don't care. You have to be aware of the car in front of you, and you have to deal with what they're doing. To go around them, that's on you. And Gary was too worried about cussing you up one side and down the other to realize that Dan was doing what I've done it 1,000 times. When it says let every car by, if I keep coasting around the bottom at 40 miles an hour, we're going to have to delay the green by another lap because it's going to take everybody forever to get around. We're trying to get the race in. So he goes to the bottom, and he's going like 10 miles an hour or whatever. And there's just no excuse.
No, you have to pay more attention. You have to know what's going on ahead of you. And I'm pretty sure I went over this before the race, and I was telling everybody to pay attention with your relatives and all that. So what really got me though was Gary asking me, "What am I going to do to Dan for stopping in the track?" I'm like,
"Nothing.
What are you talking about? He's doing what iRacing is telling him." There's no, he was on the bottom. Gary said he was in the middle. He wasn't in the middle. He was on the bottom. He was on the bottom.
I was there.
He was on the bottom. He was 100% on the bottom, and he was doing what iRacing told him to do. iRacing said, "You got to stop right here. Let these cars go by." He pulls down, and he gets freaking hammered, then hammered again because you're not paying attention, because you would rather bitch about not getting your lap back, which has absolutely zero to do with race control. It's got to do with the fact that you pitted, a caution came out, somebody stayed out.
Sometimes it sucks. And it's happened to me. Sometimes it just sucks.
The keying up on the radio, cussing and going and acting the way he was acting, I mean, it's all red flag, man. Just should have never happened, period. None of it.
In the history of Bluegrass Race Hub, this is the reddest flag we've ever thrown.
The reddest.
Period. It couldn't be redder. There are some bad jokes for me to make about how red it could be, but it's the reddest it could be, buddy. That's it. Like, no excuse. I know that if Gary listens to us, he's not going to enjoy what we've just said.
No, but it's the
Hopefully,
truth.
yeah. Hopefully he's cooled down some since then. Maybe he's taken a look at it. Which
I
I
mean,
kind of get. I kind of get, like, you don't expect. Well, I do expect. I don't know. I'm really reaching here to try to give him a little bit, but man, you just when I'm on track, so under caution, I'm in the middle. And when the spotter says, "Hey, lucky dog outside," I go to the bottom. When it comes up and it says, "Let someone by," I go to the bottom. If
mhm.
you're pacing on the bottom, you're probably screwing up already. If you're like, not to pace on the top, because at some point there's going to be a guy flying by getting his lap back. Like, it's, I don't want to say common sense, because I'm sure people have different thoughts of how this should go, and I'm guessing at that specific time he was probably maybe figuring out his pit stop or something. I don't know, but like, when you're on the track, like, what's in front of you, like,
Eyes
it
forward,
could have,
man. Eyes
yeah,
forward.
it like, it could have been a wall.
Could have
If
been.
you're not paying
Could have been.
attention, he could have been driving through the fucking infield.
Yep.
So I know we're probably everybody on the planet's in agreement except for Gary. So, hey Gary, Alabama sucks.
So, and I'm just going to throw this is a little more. I'm going to throw out there. So, for me, this is also a red flag. Gary claims that he's the only one who had anything for Hackney this season.
Ooh, yeah, I meant to put this on the red and green.
That's
so,
another red flag for me. I'm sorry, Gary.
Gary,
That's not true.
I
We
know
have
you like, yeah,
many
Gary,
talented truck drivers.
Yep, Gary, I know you like the Crimson Tide, but you are it today, buddy, because it's all red for you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that Gary isn't a fast driver. He was running P2 for a long time in that race, and in
Yep.
that specific race, maybe he was the guy to challenge Keith, but like,
Possibly.
he wasn't. Let's pull it up, because I know I looked at this when we talked about this before, but like, he's not in the playoffs, so.
No.
So are you that guy? I'm not that guy, pal. I'm not that guy.
His
like,
fastest lap was 30.313. He qualified fourth. I mean, Clemens outqualified Hackney. So, and Clemens finished P2. So I don't know how he can claim that he's the only one that had anything for Hackney. Because,
but he said all season.
Yeah, all season. So, but that's what I'm saying. If Casey Barlow was in here still, dude, him and Hackney would be going bam, bam, bam. All right. That's another one. You've had something for him. Justin White. I mean, Bobby's been fast.
Bobby,
Wes, Dan, Robbie.
Yeah. At different tracks, like,
Alan,
come on, man.
Adam Newbert has been. So here's the way I look at it. Adam Newbert's been super fast, had good runs all season, but he's kind of like got that same thing that Gary's got going on. He steps on his dick a lot, or gets taken out by somebody else's shit, right? And that, to Gary's defense, that is what he said. He said that if it hadn't been for his own mistakes, other people's mistakes, or something else, he was the only person who showed anything for Hackney on a relative basis or whatever, regular basis or something like that.
Right. And that just is not the case.
It's not the case, because there's so many other guys that have had good showings all season. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to pick on Gary or nothing. It's just, these are the topics that we decided to go on, and it's just not, I don't believe it. I don't think it's true. I mean, Gary's had several good runs this season, but he's had several bad runs also. So
here's looking at this right now. He said, "I'm the only person all season that's had something for Keith." So if you have something for him, you come to every race, right?
Yeah.
There are two races that I looked at. Gary did not race in road courses.
Yeah.
You didn't have anything for him then, did you? Did you? Because you know you can't race road courses. You didn't even bother showing up. So I don't want to hear how you're the only guy that has something for him. It's just not true. I
No,
know it
it's
sounds like
not.
we're
It's
picking on you,
not true.
but
Too many other talented guys in the truck series, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So,
yep, that it is what it is. So the next red and or green flag. So you weren't there for the cup race. So I ran race control for it, and I've never had this thing happen before. We had 2 cautions that happened that there wasn't a wreck. No one ever stopped on track. So one, which I wanted to discuss with you live here. Gosh, I can't remember his name. Ryan Campbell, 80 car, right?
Mhm.
So lap 9 of the race, he comes in hot into turn 3, and he got into another driver. I can't remember who it was, but neither of them spun out. There was a little bit of sideways, but nothing egregious. And the caution flew, and I spent the next 5 minutes trying to figure out where a wreck happened on the track. And
so
being a novice like I am, it takes me longer. And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
here's what I got. I got a caution on lap 7 for in slow car. Caution for slow car involving the number 13 on lap 7. So caution,
that would have been
Brian
Brian
Terry.
Terry.
Yeah, so we had a caution involving slow car on lap 12, which was the 34.
Okay, so it must have been the lap 7 caution but it came out right as Ryan slid into whoever it was, and then I was just looking around, and I decided at that point, and this is where I want your input. I know we have a rule for the first 10 lap caution. I was like, Ryan, I'm going to tell Jason that you should not receive a penalty for this.
Mm-hmm.
And based on what you just saw, I think it's pretty clear cut. He shouldn't receive that first.
No, it should.
10 lap penalty.
It shows that it was charged to Brian Terry. So
okay, I
unfortunately, I guess that means Brian's gonna have another probation period.
Oh God, here we go.
So now that I found that's that means he caused a caution in the first 10. And that sucks for Brian, because had we not talked about this, I would have never seen that. So it's your fault.
Yeah. That's on me. I just looking at the rate, which I wasn't I was looking for. I spent a lot of time because, granted, I know that I'm not the quickest and smoothest race controller because I've only done it in this series. But I was looking around and I couldn't see anything. I don't know what caused Brian to be in that position, but it never even occurred to me that might be the reason for it. So I'm glad that Ryan's not going to get a penalty for that. It was in the moment, it was super confusing. So
I get it.
Yeah. So part 2 of it, maybe this is the same thing, but I'm like, my beautiful wife has brought me another drink.
That's awesome.
So there was, off the top of my head, I want to say it was Gabriel Ellison. At some point, he was getting ready to pit. He locked it up, and he came up off of the apron and came back onto the racing surface, but was still going slow enough. He was able to get back onto pit road. He did not interfere with any driver. He didn't stop. He didn't wreck. But I saw him slow down at when it looked like he might miss, and he ended up not missing. And then there was another caution. I was like, I know I'm a rookie race control guy, but I feel like iRacing's really messing with me tonight.
So that caution, when I see it's lap 115 right here. Gabe goes into the pits, speeding in pits, hold for 15 seconds on lap 114. The caution came out on lap 114 for a slow car involving number 71. So that would have been Cedric Hunter.
It was Cedric. It was 100% Cedric. Now that you say it, was he the guy entering pit road? Is that
No, it doesn't. I don't see that. I just see where Gabe got a 77. Number 77 got a penalty for entering speeding in pits. Right. The caution actually came out on lap 114 for slow car involving 71.
which is still strange because I can't imagine there was a slow car at that point, but it was just really confusing because I was just tracking the field for incidents, and the only thing I saw was that like he almost missed pit lane, and then he didn't, and that's when it came out. So really messed with me.
I
So
understand.
iRacing. I don't know what to say. Red flag to you, iRacing, for making it hard on me, dude. Because I was just trying to run this race clean.
Big red flag, definitely trying to help fill in for me. So I'm going to give it a red flag as well.
Yeah.
All right.
So I've got a two-parter. This is the last big drama we had this week, and it starts with our good friends Scott Fritz and David Farmer. And I think you did the correct thing with your ruling at the end of it. So during the race, it was midway through the race, kind of towards the end. Both guys are having pretty good runs, and Scott bumped Dave, maybe trying to move him out of the way, maybe came in a little hot. Either way, not sure. Doesn't matter. Wasn't bad. Got Dave a little loose, and then got into Dave again, and racing incident. Otherwise, it's hard to say. And the problem is that of all the things, the caution didn't come out for this because Dave ended up driving straight into the outside wall because of it. And not to say that's necessarily anyone's fault. I know that we probably have a differing perspective on this, and that's okay. But it caused some tempers to flare, and I know that I think you got a request to review what happened, and he did. And sitting where I was at, it looked like, and my whole thing was that if the caution had come out there, I personally would have attributed it to Scott, and it puts me in a weird position because I'm also race control, and I knew that people would think that perhaps he is acting on behalf of the guy that he's spotting for. And it made it, which ultimately it wasn't difficult because the caution did not come out. But in the moment, like, I was pretty hot, Dave was pretty hot, but I'd like to get your perspective.
All right, so going and looking at the replay, I looked at it with David Brackett and Adam Lancaster, and what we came to a conclusion, the 84 had been kind of holding up the field. He had a kind of, several cars behind him, and we saw Fritz get to his inside several times, and he's getting to his inside, and he wasn't touching. He was just getting there, right? Just getting his inside.
Yeah.
And then finally, that last corner, whenever the incident happened. So Scott, you can see him brakes, he brakes, and then all of a sudden, I guess he let off or something. I don't know, but thinking because I saw Scott was sent his appeal the whole incident. He sent his in car, so we got to see we got to see. Well, I mean that's the best word to use. It was technically protested, and to appeal the protest, he sent in his footage too, right? So we had both sets to compare. I had David's and Scott's, so we could compare both, right? We could see what both drivers were doing. So we put them up, and we're watching Scott's off the gas, and he barely rolls off the brake, and then he nudges Dave, right? Well, he's completely out of the gas. He's completely out of the gas, and he's trying to let Dave gather it back up. And Dave, he does. He regains control of the car pretty quickly. What we think happened is even though he had just regained control of the car, he still hadn't got it in his head yet that he was under control. And so he kept turning left, right? He kept turning left. So he ends up coming down into the lane because Scott, he stayed in that bottom lane. He ends up coming down onto him like this. Scott he gets back out of the gas and hits the brakes. And you can see because the cars behind him are coming up and they're about to hit both of them, right? So Scott was trying his best not to wreck him or whatever you want to call it. He was trying to avoid hitting him further. So the way we looked at it, I mean, they both made mistakes. Scott made the mistake with the entry with the first initial contact. The second contact, from what we can gather, and it's Adam and David probably can explain it a lot easier than I can, but because they're the ones that really described it and made me understand what was going on, was when David's rolling, he's probably like he said, he's probably still in that like, oh shit moment, right? He just got hit. Yep. His brain's still like, oh shit, so he's
recover
mode. He's in recover mode. Even though he's got control of the car, he's not got control of the situation in his head yet. So he continues to turn left to try to keep the car from breaking further right or whatever, right? So in the process of doing that, he's racing for position. He's trying to stay in front of these guys. So he turns down and he comes across, and essentially there was nowhere else for the 01's nose to go but to be right where it was. He comes down onto the 01's nose. 01 lifts, even hits the brakes. You can watch the car lunge forward, and then the cars behind them end up scattering. So it was a racing incident from the way we looked at it. Like, there's really no fault on one single person. They both made a little bit of a mistake here or there, whatever. Initial contact, if that was the only thing that had happened was Scott hitting him and there's a caution come out on Scott, 100%. I will say that. If
that's Scott.
If that's the only thing that happened, like if there's nothing else that happened after that, right? Let's say Scott, because even though he tried to avoid him, he still made contact with him that initiated, and a bump is fine. You can bump people. We just said that in Xfinity. A bump, there's nothing wrong with a bump. And I'm not going to police these guys and say, no, you cannot bump people. You can't move people. Because essentially sometimes that's the only way you can get around somebody is to move them. So whether he intentionally moved him or it was an accident, I don't know. I just saw from what I saw, it looked like an accident, but it still happened. He's still responsible for the nose of his car. If that scenario had turned into a caution, then yes, it would have been on Scott. However, with it going beyond that, with David regaining control of the car, Scott lifting and giving him a chance, and you can tell he's lifting because the guys behind him are about to run him over.
Yep.
All right. So with that happening, and then Dave coming down, and that just made it a racing incident because at that point it's no longer solely on Scott. Because he was down in the bottom, Dave was in the middle. Dave came down trying to get a good exit, whatever it may be, trying to recover the car, whatever it may be. Either way,
probably just trying to drive straight off of it.
But
once you're going slow,
it's too hard to speculate on what if and shit like that. But if that was the only thing, then yeah, we would have said it would have been on Scott.
Yep. And that's kind of what I expected from it. I was obviously so in the position I was in and the things that I said, it's difficult when you're both. I showed up there to spot my team, and then I was also race control, and then like there was some shit talk back and forth, which is totally good. I'm here for it. But then I'm like, look, dude, if the caution had flown there, like you were the guy that created the situation.
Yeah.
If you hadn't got there to start with, if you hadn't bumped the guy, like that's on you, because everything that happened after that was because of the initial contact. But at the end of the day, caution didn't come out, so it doesn't matter. And you did what I expected. The professional thing is to not speculate on things that didn't actually happen. Because I was ready to take my $100 from Scott. And I'm sure Scott was ready to take $100 from me, and I was ready to pay it. But this is where we are, and
that's why that's why we don't speculate on things like that. Yeah. And even like I said, even if we're just talking about the first incident alone, it's, I can't, yeah,
Yeah,
if he spins him out there, then yeah, then it's a
yeah.
caution. But since there was no spin, I can't speculate and say yeah, the caution would have been on him, because what we did was we looked
it
at
wasn't.
we looked at all the laps before that, and part of it, and I'm sure Dave don't want to hear this, but part of it comes from, Dave was kind of watching his mirror, he was kind of blocking. He was kind of making sure he was in, he was holding his position and doing everything he could to stay in front of those guys. And that's part of racing. And we get that. And that's why we believe that it's a racing incident, because it's both guys trying to go for the same spot at the track at the same time. And that's what happens. And, like I said, Dave may not agree with that, but that's kind of the assessment that both of the other two guys came up with as well. That's why I trust those guys' judgment, and probably give you some better feedback than what I can.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes. Sometimes
I'm trying to my best to like stay out of it right now. If you can tell, like I'm.
Yep. No, that I think that's the correct.
I don't want to piss Dave off, because I like Dave and he's a good dude, and there's
Scott's a big part of the league,
and Scott, I don't want to piss Scott off. I don't want to piss you off. So there's obviously, I'm trying to be as Switzerland as I can be right now. But I did see some things that both of them did that, that's why we ultimately decided it was a racing incident, because they both made mistakes. There was fault on both ends.
And that's, I think that's the proper outcome. And if Scott's listening, I don't want him to think that, like, just because I'm spotting Dave, like, I don't dislike Scott because of that incident. Like, he's part of the league just like I am. I don't interact with him a ton because we don't race in the same series, but like, he's helping the league, I'm helping the league. Like, we're just here for fun, and sometimes the shit talk is that's part of what makes it good. And that doesn't, like, just because like I want to put $100 on the line with you, like, if I lose the bet, it doesn't make me think like you're a shithead or something. Like, I like to gamble on shit. I bet on football every week. If I go to the racetrack, I'm putting money on a number or a car or whatever. Like, it just makes it interesting. Like,
I get it.
That all goes back to, like, if you can't afford $10 a week to race this shit, what are we doing?
Might as well run officials, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we got for him tonight?
So this is, I'm gonna put you on the Scott. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Jason.
Okay.
So this has been this has come up. Jason.
Yep.
Red flag, green flag. If you're not going to be there, you got to let someone know. You got to let me know ahead of time, because it puts me in a weird position, like I was as race control and a spotter, because I didn't show up anticipating doing that. So when I'm doing both, it puts me, and not saying it has to be me, but for that specific scenario, it put me in a bad spot.
So to cover this, I didn't know I wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
That's kind of part of the problem. If I had known, then every time I've had something come up, I always message you guys and say, hey, can you do race control tonight? I mean, I've done it. I've asked you, I've asked Dave, I've asked many people. When I know that I'm not going to be there, I'm always like, hey, can you do race control for me tonight? I have something. This was one of those scenarios where, dude, I did not even wake up. I was dead to the world. I was sicker than a dog. So yeah, my apologies on not putting any information out there to let you know that I wasn't going to be there, but I didn't even know I wasn't going to be there this time.
Yeah, I think we're all, and it's not just me, but like,
yeah.
So I showed up to that race in particular. I got there at like 7:45, and I jumped in the chat with Matt and Dave. They go to driver's meeting. No one's there. It's like, oh, I got to do this too to make sure this race goes off the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
So we all,
and I appreciate you stepping up and doing that. Like I said, and I wouldn't have intentionally done that by any means, because any other time that I've had that, something come up, I've always asked somebody, man, because and but this is one of those situations where, dude, I was dead to the world. Like, honestly, like,
yeah, and I
and I'm
don't
still,
mind.
you know that I'm still kind of
Yeah,
recovering from it as well. Even today, been a little sick to my stomach, had some stomach problems that I told you about. We won't go over that on the air, but,
I don't think
yeah,
anyone wants to hear about Jason's butthole like the
uh,
tailgate of my truck says.
so it was one of those things, dude, where it was out of my control, honestly. All I can say is I'm just going to have to, um, hopefully this new medicine they got me on and stuff will keep it from happening again. So that's my
Yeah,
plan.
yeah. We just we all want the best for the league, and like I said, I don't care to do it. I don't think anyone else cares to do it. But when a lot of the weirdness from this situation, if I wasn't if I had shown up and known that I was race control or whatever, but if you're spotting for a guy and you're race control, like I know there was a point in the race where Matt and Scott were racing real hard, and Matt was getting frustrated with him. I
Hmm.
was like, Matt, if you decide to put a bumper to him or something, like don't make it look egregious because you know what kind of position that puts me in. But
Hmm.
then at the same time, it's taken away from Matt and Dave because maybe they wouldn't race the same if I wasn't the
Hmm.
guy doing stuff.
Right.
And I know that's out of your control. I'm not like shitting on you for it or anything, but we just gotta.
Unintended.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't know how it goes in other series because I mean, 99% of the time you're there. There's a couple times I've had to do stuff, and it's never been an issue
Hmm.
until that race, and it kind of reared its head with Dave and Scott because Scott alluded to that if the caution had come out, I would have put it on him.
Hmm.
And I absolutely would have from where I was sitting, not from a bias spot, but just how I saw it initially. And
Hmm.
then like moving forward from that, like people are going to think like, Alex is fixing races on behalf of his guy. And then that looks bad on you. And then it's this whole fucking thing we don't want to deal with.
Yep, and I understand. Like I said, I promise you, I wouldn't have missed it if I had known. I would have at least told you. So 100% my fault, my bad on that for not letting
So,
somebody know. But again, I didn't even know at the time.
yeah,
Um,
just
hell, I didn't even know what day it was when I woke up.
just hey, when you start firing down on the toilet, you should just have an auto text that goes out like, "Hey, Alex, you you're on it tonight." As
Yeah,
soon as it
that
hits
was one of
water,
those.
it goes.
That was one of those things where I ended up getting sick Tuesday night, and then ended up going to sleep, and I was like, well, I never did. I just didn't wake up. I just stayed in a coma basically because I was sicker than hell. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
believe I got some
on
kind of
on
stomach virus. So
on behalf of Matt, don't miss the next one, player. Don't
yeah,
do it. Don't do it. I think that's it for Are You Serious? It's time to make some picks.
6 week.
And then
All right, we're at
you wanna
Darlington. You want to start us off in the truck series? Or you want me to start us off?
oh God. You won last week. You're ahead of me and Bryce, I think.
Hey, truck series. God,
Or no, I don't know who won last week.
we didn't do picks last week. I
That's
won the
right,
week before
because
though.
we weren't. Yeah, you're two, and me and Bryce are tied at one. Being that you're the leader, you've earned it. I hate to do this, but you get to go first, and if you're smart, I know what you're gonna do.
I want to pick Bobby Hall Jr.
Bobby Hall Jr. I like it. He's gonna rip that top. He's gonna earn a couple Darlington stripes. And gosh, neither of us. It'd be easy for me to pick Keith right now,
Hmm.
but I came into this with a pick, a guy that I race with. Obviously, I'm in the series. A guy that is very level-headed throughout a
Hmm.
race. He sees the long game. I feel like this is a Justin White race.
That was my other one. That's the other one I was going to pick.
Yep. I think he's going to have the endurance and the level-headedness to just to get it done here, man. Regardless if you pick Keith or not, I was going Justin. So
I should have went Justin now.
yeah,
that was my other. That was the other one. I should have just done it just to mess with you, just to mess your whole pickup for the week.
Then I would have just taken Keith, I guess.
All right, so Xfinity, who we got?
All right, so man, I really screwed myself with this because I get to go first on the series that I don't know
that much about. Yeah,
but gosh, look at it. It's really evened out now. We got 2 guys with 3 wins. Oh man, I keep coming back to this guy, and he keeps not getting it done for me. But I feel like the third time is going to be a charm.
You got
Michael Robinson.
Michael Robinson. Right,
Still, he's 5th in points. Still has no wins on the season. I mean, 2nd highest average finish on the season. The toll has got to come due at some point. I know the dude is fast. He's a consistent, clean driver. Michael, get it done for me. Get it done.
All right, let's see who I got. Dude, I really want to pick Doug Neal, but
you don't want to that bad, huh?
Not in the playoffs.
That doesn't matter. You've seen how the Cup Series is. We haven't had a single guy in the playoffs win in the playoffs yet.
Okay. I am going to go with Adam Lancaster.
Lancaster gonna get it. He's gonna go back to back.
Yep.
Back to back. He's called it. He's gonna make up for Kevin Harvick's pit stop.
Yep. In Cup Series,
you're up first. You're right back at it.
I'm gonna go with Alex Huffman.
Oh, you son of a bitch. All right. I have to really think about this one now. I got to look at these stats. Man. I really want to go off the uncharted path here. I'd love to support my guys that are sitting 5th and 6th in points right now. I've already picked each of them at a race. They've both let me down. Oh golly, man. My initial pick here was Gabe Ellison, but Brandon Holder.
Good pick. That's a solid pick.
I think he's another guy, just like in the Xfinity. No wins, but he's been there all year.
He's been there all season. He gets time to punch his card as well.
Stamp it.
All right. Is that it for us?
I think that's all we got to cover tonight. I know that at the beginning you said this is going to be a short one, but here we are.
2 hours.
2 hours later.
Woo, this was a long one. Damn. Yeah. I guess that's what we had for 2 weeks. We were making up for 2 weeks. So
yeah, that's true.
All right.
So yeah, on behalf of myself and Jason, sponsors, Jason, I know you probably got those locked in your head because I don't. I put you on the spot. I could tell.
Inter Performance Group, Butt Kicker, Huffman Designs, Roasted Gems Coffee, Scott Fritz Paints, and all of our buddies at UDTV, our friends at Holly, our friends at Red Rocket Barbecue and Buildings,
Red
Anybody else that's contributed to the season? Lucky Ducks
just for showing
Motorsports
up
for showing up all season with all their drivers. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Who's actually sponsored a race this year, or been or gave us something in sponsorship the past few months. So
that's it, boys.
I think that covers it.
Next week we're coming. Arrows let loose. I gotta go pee. That's the end of the podcast.
We're gone. See ya.